What's going on, everyone? This is Sherry, and you are tuned into She Said What She Said, the podcast where we interview badass women in the sports world and beyond. So we're going a little earlier today, just a slight tide bit. So my lovely co-host isn't here quite yet, but I will be bringing her in as soon as she's coming out. I think she has some modeling auditions or something earlier, so you know how she rolls. But I am very excited for this evening because we get to talk about one of my favorite sports, a sport that I used to play before I had to be, wheeled off the field with a concussion. We are going into the world of flag football. And we've talked about this a lot before. It is hugely emerging sport for young women, especially. Right here, I'm in Illinois. It is going to become an official IHSA, I think that's the acronym, sport this year for high school girls, which exploded in like the last 2 years. I know we've had some of those coaches on. And now, we have women's flag football in the college environment too. So not quite in the NCAA yet, but it is in the NAIA, and we have one of the best coaches to do it in the NAIA. So she is the Kansas Collegiate Athletic Conference, boom, Coach of the Year at Kansas. Sorry, I just had a little flicker if you lost me for a second. At Kansas Wesleyan University. Her team didn't quite win the national title this year, came a little bit short. But honestly, she is one of the best to do it. She is a talent ID camp coach for USA football. So if you need someone to ask about flag football, this is your woman. Let's bring in Miss Coach Melinda Nguyen. I'm going to mess up your last name. I always get scared when I'm on live. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
So flag football. Women, college, NAIA, national championship game, almost made it to the tip top. We came a little bit short. Hey, Lon, how are you? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this season. How game?
Sorry, you kind of cut out for a bit. Can you ask your question again?
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I had some weird thing popping up on my screen, so I'm not sure. We just finished our season. NAIA, your team made it to the championship game, didn't quite pull it through. But before we start about anything else, let's talk about this season and this championship game and this team that you had.
Yeah, it's been a great season. So this is my second year coaching at Kansas Wesleyan University, and the team is just phenomenal. I mean, athletes from left to right, kind of across the board. And this year we've had a lot more depth than last year, which has been great in terms of, keeping people healthy, just getting lots of experience in. And so we started off the season in, end of February. And it kind of went by like that. Before we knew it, we were at nationals. But the regular season was great. We played in conference. In the KCAC conference, and we ended up second in the conference. And then we made it to Arrowhead Stadium for the KCAC conference championship. Unfortunately, fell to an incredible team, Ottawa University. They're a powerhouse right now, but we're right there knocking on the heels. But a lot of great milestones kind of throughout the season. One of them being we were the first KCAC team in the history of flag football to beat Ottawa. So that was a wonderful win. It was very, celebrated. And I think it was just a really great moment for our team. Some of our players had been waiting years to kind of, we've always been knocking at their heels, but kind of waiting for just to get over that hump. And so we actually pulled out the win, and that was great. And then we just got back from nationals on Sunday. And so nationals was just another roller coaster of emotions, like every game, right? You have your highs, you have your lows. And we really, the one thing I'll say about the team is that we really gelled together and really played together. We stuck together throughout the whole season, whether it was we were doing great or whether we weren't doing so great. I think the team really came together and we really stuck by each other's side. And, to say goodbye for the end of the school year and the end of the season, a lot of tears, a lot of emotion, but I'm excited to kind of see where we are next year, come back hungrier, stronger, and better than ever.
I love it. Quick question from our number one fan here. How many games are this season? Yeah, how is that broken down for you guys?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So we have, I can't remember. I think we have 9 schools in our conference.
Mm-hmm.
We play each team twice.
Oh.
So that would be a total of 16 games. Mm-hmm. And then the non-conference games are kind of based on who we can travel out to or who can travel to see us. And that can vary between 4 to 6 games, even sometimes more. So on average for a regular season, you're looking at around 22 games. Again, more or less, right? Give or take. And then postseason can be anywhere between 3 games, 6 games, or depending on the tournament bracket style, it can be, working your way up through 8 to 9 games in a week.
That's a lot. That is a lot of game. How long are the games?
So each game kind of averages out to be about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours if we're using all of our timeouts and
but what is the clock stoppage? Is it a full 60-minute game?
Yeah. So there's
halves, quarters,
exactly. Yeah, 12-minute quarters.
12-minute quarter. Okay, thank you. 48. Mm-hmm. Nice. I know. It's just like, let's do the quick math on here. Love it. And, there's a ton of different styles of flags. So to break it down, can you let people know, are we doing 5-on-5, 7-on-7, 8-on-8? Explain the style too
absolutely.
in the NAIA.
So for NAIA Collegiate, across the board, everyone does 7-on-7 screen. So screen blocking is when you can block with the hands behind your back. Yep. The rush is a 1-yard rush. So you have like a 1-yard neutral zone. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of rules, I mean, like the quarterback can run at any time. You can rush. You can blitz as many times as you want. There's not a lot of restrictions in terms of rushing and blitzing. And then for, once you score, it's 6. And then you can go for either a 1-point conversion or 2-point conversion.
Okay. Just making sure we're all know, because there are so many different, styles. And I know you've also coached with USA Football and played yourself all the different styles as well. Before we move on, though, my lovely co-host is here. So take a quick pause to say hey to Faye.
Hello. Sorry I'm late. Hi, Melinda. Hi. Nice to meet you. I've heard great things about you.
Yes. We're just kind of talking about their awesome season that they had and making sure we all know exactly which style of flag they're playing in the NAIA. And it is 7-on-7 screen.
Okay, gotcha.
How long has it been in NAIA? I know you've been there for 2 years. How long has it been in NAIA sport?
It's only been around for 4 years.
I was going to say, it's less than 5, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. So we're in our 4th year. Next year will be our 5th.
Okay. And how many? It's 3-4 conferences?
So there's 2 conferences right now.
2 main? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's the KCAC conference, and then there's the Sun Conference. And kind of what we've done is, because there's not a lot of conferences, any university or college that wants to have flag football, we absorb based on proximity, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of the east versus the west. Okay.
Exactly.
So I remember looking at it on there, and it was kind of broken out in a couple of different ways. And so I wasn't sure, is this a conference? Is this just, okay. This makes sense. This makes absolutely sense right there. So, being an NAIA sport, you were saying that you had a young lady that signed, yesterday. So is this a scholarship sport for these ladies?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the NAIA level, we do give academic and athletic scholarships, and they kind of stack on top of each other. So it really depends on your grades, what kind of student you are, but also, of course, what kind of athlete you are. So yeah, it is for sure a scholarship sport.
So fantastic. I will sometimes ask you leading questions if I know the answer. But, it's just like, never did I think like growing up that we would see women getting college athletic scholarships to play a form of football, right? I mean, especially women, you know what I mean? It's not like one girl being the kicker on the guys team, where women playing women. So let's talk about, your athletic history growing up, and how did you get into flag?
Yeah. I'm kind of the same. So I started playing when I was 7, and it was just me with all the boys.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of growing up, I played for NFL flag, and at the time, you aged out at around 14. So after 14, you can't really play anymore unless you find another league, and there wasn't anything out there for women.
Right.
So then I got into cross country and track in high school, and my brother went to University of Maryland and introduced me to this club team and said, hey, come out and watch me play. Sure, loving flag football. I said, sure, why not? Came out, and I saw an all-women's team at college, and it blew my mind. So, I was watching them, and me and my brother were throwing the ball around, and they're like, hey, you can kind of throw. Have you thought about playing for us? And I said, well, I'm 15, 16. I can't play in the college team. And they said, well, we just won't tell them. So they threw a shirt on, gave me some shorts, and threw me out there. And ever since then, I never stopped playing. So I ended up going to University of Maryland because I knew I already had friends. I already had teammates there. And then down the line, they asked, hey, you have a lot of experience. Do you want to coach? And that's really when I started to dive into coaching. And then from there, kind of just kept at it, finding different avenues to play, to coach. I ended up tearing my ACL, and I wanted to continue to grow in football, but obviously more on the mental side. And so that's when I decided, you know what, let me just go in coaching until I can play again. And so then I started coaching for WFFN Team America, which is a team that travels internationally representing the U.S. And it was like also the first all women's flag football national league, which was incredible. The talent there was amazing. And then Kansas Wesleyan kind of popped up, and I said, you know what, I'll give it a try. Why not? So it's been an incredible, incredible journey. Like you said, it's been my absolute dream just to know that there's flag football, scholarship opportunities, there's coaching opportunities. I mean, there's just so many opportunities in flag football for women, and it's just been incredible.
It is. Have you coached Nadia by any chance?
Nadia Bibbs?
Yeah.
Have I coached her? I think she might have been on a team. Like sometimes when we travel, we'll break up our group into 2 or 3 teams, and so I'll coach one team, another coach will coach another team. I think maybe by association in that same community. But she's a good athlete. I've seen
girlfriend of mine. Yeah, she used to be. Yeah, I used to play with her way back in the day. When we played here in Chicago, just thinking like, oh, I know one of those ladies.
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
Yeah. Do you know Labrinthia?
Yeah, I do.
Yes. Thanks, Lange. Yeah, we're gotta get her into the Chicago crew.
Yeah, she plays for She Unit, and so I coach She Unit kind of throughout the year whenever I can make it out to tournaments. So another great person, another great player. She's a baller.
How many teams, and you might have answered this, sorry, but how many teams are there or leagues are there right now as far as flag football is concerned? Is it growing? Is it something that's being like you have people trying out for the teams like more steadily now?
Oh, there's a lot. So I think right now the way that the flag football community works is there's a lot of tournaments, and certain teams will commit to certain tournaments. And so when that team is going, you play for that team. But if there's a tournament nearby that your team isn't going to, you kind of jump onto another team. And we're kind of that sort of community where, hey, you're a good player. We're looking for a good player. Jump onto our roster. And so it's free flowing.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Do you see it ever going where, or is there just not enough women right now where you can just have set teams and then there's not a lot of like you said, free flowingness of it?
I think we are starting to get to that, and you'll see a lot of the more established teams have rosters that don't change much, right? They have their core players, the ones that constantly come back and play. You also see a lot more sponsorships, and that's kind of what solidifies these roster positions is, hey, there's a sponsor, they're willing to pay for your ticket, you should probably play on this team, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would certainly see it moving in that direction. It's there's a lot of established teams out there already, whether it's just friendships or sponsorships or in between. And so that certainly is happening. And then I know in the future there's going to be a professional league where you have to try out, you get paid for practices, you get paid for games, and that's just the next level of flag football, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's some mercenary thing. Yeah, women are just out there. So, and you did have another question. With men's football, there does tend to be players with egos. For women, obviously some women can definitely have egos. As a coach, as a player, especially on teams like taking something like a she unit, right, where you have the stars from all the different areas of the country. How do you bring that together and not make it, full of drama, full of egos, all of this?
I can't say that there's no egos, right? I think there's got to be a certain level of confidence that comes into females playing a very male-dominated sport. But I will say I've coached both men and women, and the egos with women is much, much lower. I think they're more receptive. They're willing to learn. And so I find like female teams way more willing, I guess, or able to share the playing time and share advice and not afraid to really help each other. And I think that's one of the main things that I love about women's flag football is it's a very inclusive community where I don't have an ego. If you know something, give me advice and I can take it or leave it, but there's not really a debate or an argument about it. It's like, oh, I've never thought of it like that way. And we're really trying to help each other grow. And so, like I said, there's always going to be a few egos here and there, but not as much as on the men's side, I would say.
Sure. I've had a bunch of coaches from a variety of sports, on this podcast. I've had coaches myself, and I'm always like, I love to see women coaches, right? Women coaches are the best. I personally did have male coaches, but then you have the male coaches that are like, I don't want to coach men.
Yeah.
It's almost like everyone is like, yeah, coaching women is the best. So, and you talked about being an inclusive environment because you are also the first Asian American woman to be a college flag football coach. So, talk about kind of the inclusivity and kind of you being a role model from that angle.
Well, I think flag football is the great equalizer in terms of athletic ability, but also diversity and inclusivity. You don't have to be the tallest and you don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to be the strongest to really dominate in the space. And so for people like me who are undersized, we can find different ways to dominate or do well and really succeed in flag football. And so I think on the field, it's certainly true, but it also translates to off the field. I mean, there's people of all different body shapes and sizes that can play and again, do well. And you kind of find what makes you unique. And that can be a huge asset in the game. And so, I mean, being Asian American has been huge. I think a lot of people have reached out and said, oh, like, I've never seen a flag football player that was Vietnamese American before. And to see people in those leadership roles, to see people within that space is absolutely important, right? Representation matters.
Yes.
And I'm really proud, to kind of take this step. That's not to say that I don't have imposter syndrome at times, right? I'm just like, oh, like, do I know what I'm doing? Am I too small? Maybe I should learn more. But after I've been around coaching for quite a few years, I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually know what I'm talking about. And I see another coach doing something and, oh, you know what? I might do that differently. And I think I could do it maybe a little bit better or whatever. And so, I mean, it's been a great learning experience. And even for myself, my confidence has really increased knowing that, I need to stop questioning myself and really just go in this with full confidence, because not only is it for me, but it's the people who see me in this role, who there might be little girls looking up to me saying, hey, like maybe one day I can be a college coach. And it's a really humbling experience. It's been incredible.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is there sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Faye.
Is there because I haven't seen it. So are these streamed anywhere, your games? Is it on like a network or anything? Like where would we catch this stuff?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So all of our KCAC games are live streamed and then archived as well. So I think it's like the KCAC network. You can always catch the games live. They have commentators who do a great job. For our school specifically, we have like different camera angles. So you have the end zone angle, you have the close-ups of the faces, and then you have the wide shot.
Oh, nice.
So they do a phenomenal job of coverage. And then each school is kind of responsible for their own coverage. So it varies from university to university. Some use like YouTube, others have their own websites or whatever. So it really just varies. But for the most part, most of all games that I've seen or been part of are live streams somewhere on the internet.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, and I imagine just Google it, which is, or ask Siri and they will give us all of the details. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad that you're getting like that such good, it's not just like the parents with the camcorder on the sidelines and watching you guys run back and forth.
Yeah. And I mean, if I'm being honest, I think there's a lot of room to grow as well. Sure. I think some of the universities do a great job of coverage and others are still developing. It's still an emerging space where I think there's a lot of room for improvement. At the national level, at the tournament that we just came from, there were certain fields with live streams with good camera angles, and there were other ones where they have, somebody on the field recording from not a great angle. And so, like I said, there's a lot of room for growth as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
I imagine in the college space, a lot of colleges probably tie that in with like a communications program, a radio network type program. So certain colleges might be, also having students and just the faculty, the knowledge that is a little bit higher end, shall we say, than other ones. But, but also thinking like as like a student, like how cool would that be, as like a class project or something to work on, a side job, to be doing something, is that kind of the people that are doing it? How much involvement do you have with regular
media?
Students?
No, so I think that's a great question because I think there are opportunities for students to get involved in the broadcast journalism side of it. But so again, I can only speak for Kansas Wesleyan, but our streams are actually done with a professional who does it for every sport. And so he's our SID guy.
Okay.
He actually does the camera angles and the switches, the audio board and all that. And so he does a great, great job. But it's funny that you say that because not a lot of people know the rules of flag football. It's taken a little bit of time for people to learn. Yeah. And so one of my players who was injured this year decided to help out and ended up commentating on one of our games and co-hosted with somebody who does it for a living. And that was phenomenal because they could kind of bounce off of each other where he was still learning the sport.
Yeah.
She knew all the players, she knew all the rules, and they collaborated in that way. So she got great experience, professional experience to work with a professional and just have fun. And now she's thinking about changing her major. So
that's awesome. That's a great opportunity.
That is so cool. Well, and it's not even, necessarily like not knowing the rules because there are different styles of flag and every style has a slightly different rule. And then if you put in co-ed, you have another little rule. And so it is definitely, some of them have like a no run zone, 3 yards in, others have fit. And yeah. And I mainly did co-ed. So there are all types of nuances through that. Then you have screen versus the ones you can actually block. And so it definitely does take a little bit of, kind of say, okay, which style are we playing before we get going so I don't do the wrong thing?
Yeah, you got to like switch that flip in your head.
Right. Yeah, it is definitely one.
But I mean, no, I was just going to say, but where you're playing in all the schools, it's all the same rules, each place, you're not changing them up. So college.
Yeah. So the collegiate flag football has an official collegiate rule book. And so every college that is within the NAIA follows it. And usually you find that any other universities who are either independent or have club teams try to follow the same rules, more or less. And so it's something that, again, we're still kind of refining, but we're towards the tail end of that. We're starting to streamline a little bit more.
Yeah, but when we go into kind of the USA flag football thing and the different styles, that's where things kind of can change a bit. For your one player, thinking of the broadcast career, I ran track and I was watching the Penn relays. I recorded it the other week, and I was like, you gotta be shitting me. One of my high school teammates was commentating. She had just started getting into like radio broadcast, and she's like the biggest personality for it too. And I was like, hold on, taking the pictures. That
was cute.
Texting my whole family, I'm like, Candace is on my TV.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, she was like what was she? She was a world silver medalist. So she was very good multi-time. But it is like one of those things where you do want to have the ex-athletes commentating, and it's great to see women, doing this. You don't want to just listen to a guy talk about it. Faye and I have talked about this. There's nothing like the confidence of an average white male, and we really need to help women excel, right? I mean, like if an average or subpar dude can think he's the top shit, when you actually know what you're talking about, you're way better than him.
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed that too, even on, we have ESPN or any other sports shows, all of a sudden in lots of the different aspects of sports, we're starting to see that more. And it's funny talking, because I'm watching usually at the gym or when I'm at work, and just even with random friends and people, how there's, I don't want to say even like a double standard, but just because of the confidence of the woman knowing what she's talking about, and how when they're all sitting around that table, there's just a different vibe with that woman sitting there and talking and like knowing, and I'm like listening to her and I go, yes, I have no idea if that's right, but yes, absolutely. Like, I love it. It's such a good confidence booster. And even some of them with the WNBA and stuff where it's all women, and which is cool. For sure.
I love to see it. I have to ask, because this is on my mind now. So Melinda, how many times do you get mansplained to?
Oh.
And do you have any great special experiences of being mansplained?
I think it happens kind of all the time in microdoses. Sometimes, I even from like officials who know who I am, will tell me things in a way. But I think I deal with it pretty well. There's been a lot of times where I meet people and they ask me what I do, and I'm like, oh, I'm a flag football coach. I'm like, oh, I remember when I did that when I was 7. And I'm like, well, it's a little bit different now. It's collegiate, so it's a little bit higher level. But I think it's just it's nice that people try to connect to flag football, because that's how they connect with it, right? But I think unless you're in the space, you don't really understand how big it really has become.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of athleticism that it takes. It's not your 5-year-old little leagues anymore. It's adults competing at a very, very high level, and really putting your body through the ringer at times. So, I mean, there's been definitely instances where I've been mansplained. I think I can't think of an exact instance, but I do remember this one. Again, like I kind of black it out because it's whatever at this point. But they try to tell me like the rules of flag football, and I said, yes, I am fully aware of the rules. Because when you do this, right, like this is you're established and this is you're not established, and there's a lot of debate back and forth, and you kind of take it on the chin, and I don't like personally saying like, well, I'm a college coach, so I know, but I kind of slip it in there every once in a while. So
of course,
you should. I have honestly to one of my actually good friends, man. He was trying to explain something to me about my sport, and I was like, I'm sorry, are you trying to explain and invent that I was paid to do in college. And I was like, okay. Has anyone paid you to do that? No? Okay. Yes, I thought.
Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Actually, no, it doesn't matter at all in this situation. So your opinion is actually wrong. I don't know how to tell you. So feel free. You have my blessing to remind people that you are being paid to do this.
That's
and
true.
they are not.
Yeah, for sure. When you so it's getting bigger. It's, we're starting to hear more about it. I've, heard a lot more about flag football and its popularity. So in your words, and I guess selling it to me isn't really what I mean, but can you give me, what you love about it? What, if I was coming to you and I was in college, what would I need to be on the team? Like, what kind of person, athlete, coming to me, like, I'm really thinking about getting into this. Can you just explain why this is such a great sport and what physically I need to be able to do to be awesome?
Yes. So like I said before, it's kind of, for me, it's the great equalizer. So it's really open to any type of person or body shape, because if you're tall, you have an advantage, but there's also an advantage if you're really short. And so like I said, if I'm looking for an athlete, it's not necessarily that I'm looking for a specific body type.
Sure.
Certainly, I think at times there's benefits to having taller people. You can't just have just a short team, but having that diversity and that range and really knowing how to use your body to your advantage is the biggest asset. Okay, I'm short, so I'm not going to try to fight that tall 6 foot tall girl for the ball, right? You're not in a good advantage there. But if I can get the ball in my hands, then I can dip, and a short person dipping versus a tall person dipping, there's a huge, huge difference. And so really understanding your body and how to use it is a huge benefit. Other athletic things I'm looking for, I guess, can you catch? There's definitely positions for people who cannot, but it certainly doesn't hurt if you can.
I play defense, so you know what? Thanks. My hands, I had DB hands, okay?
Hey, a DB is a wide receiver, like, isn't great at catching, right?
Sometimes I can get that interception. Sometimes I just knock it down. Right. 50-50 on this one.
Yeah, like I said, there's such a wide range of skills that every position can offer that it's tough to hone in on just one. And I think athletic ability for any sport is true, right? If you're athletic, awesome. But really the things that I look for when I'm recruiting are the things that I can't really coach, right? I can teach football. I've taught football to a 5-year-old. I've taught football to an adult. But I can't coach effort. I can't coach heart. I can't coach commitment, right? Those are the intangibles that can really set your team apart. And so, we kind of talked about this at the beginning, is the one thing that I love about my team is how we stuck together through thick and thin. We stuck together. And that's something that I find irreplaceable. I'd rather have a team that's together and playing together and working together than a bunch of talented athletes that play as individuals. And so
effort is big.
Exactly. And so those are just the things I can't coach. I can coach football. I can teach you how to catch. Sherry, if you need lessons. No, I'm kidding.
Listen, I'm okay, but over the shoulder while it's that's toughy, man. I'm just used to running. Even switching from track sprinting football, like I went around a track in a counterclockwise direction. So like football speed is different. You got to shorten the stride, and then running backwards and sideways.
Very different.
Listen, I can't get. Listen. I'm getting old, Lon. I'm pushing 40. So let's, just ease back and let you young kids do those things. I love it. I love it. This reminds me, one of my coworkers came to me yesterday and he was like, Sherry, obviously, you're not as old as I am, though. I think you look a little younger. He was asking me, as a college athlete, like, he's like, obviously you were naturally very talented. He was like, but, were your parents pushing you to do it? Like, how was it? And I was like, no, I was very intrinsically motivated. My motivation came from within. As a parent, you cannot teach that, right? Yeah. People have to want it. I don't know how to explain it. Actually, I kind of can. So there's a phenomenal book called Grit. Woman wrote it. I don't know if you've heard of it, but she was, and I've talked about it before on the show, where she was looking at studying people that went into, I think it was actually the Naval Academy in Annapolis, of like, how do they determine which cadets will get through the basic training? Because their, SAT score, everything was equal. But when she gave them a grit test of that kind of very internal thing that's hard to describe, she was able to predict which candidates would drop out and which ones wouldn't. So absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, that is something that, like you said, it's effort. It's something that internal fire, right, that just makes people so focused on that one thing to get better that's really what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have a really short player. She's like 4'11", but we call her our Mighty Might because her effort is phenomenal. I mean, she's a rusher for us. And so she'll rush a quarterback that's 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. The quarterback will run and she'll catch them 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. So, I mean, the motor on her is just phenomenal. And that's something I can't even coach. That just comes from within. And I asked her, what drives you? And she said, well, I've been underestimated my whole life. I'm 4'11", 4'10". Yeah. And so I think just that internal motivation, that little chip on your shoulder sometimes can really, really pay off.
Yeah. Lana's known for her spin move. Her washing machine spin move. She has some great photos of that one. That's good. So when you're looking to, I know like Illinois is going to have an official, hold on, B's saying hi officially. Yeah, Labyrinthia, you started a couple years ago as my official co-host. So it is, we talked about you, B, already. So I already gave you a little shout out. Love to see you, girl. Your spin move gets it done, girl. But recruiting, right? Illinois is just starting to become an official sport. I think Georgia's been a sport for a couple years. I know you had posted something about like it's growing in Maryland, in your home state. So where do you even look to start recruiting, right? Because it's not everywhere. I mean, how do you focus this?
Yeah.
That is a great question. So it is growing, and I'm very grateful for that. But I will say, like, Florida has had flag football established in their high schools for maybe like 8 to 10 years now. So it's pretty well established there. And a community that I did not know was pretty established in flag football before I got to college was Las Vegas. Las Vegas has a phenomenal flag football community. They play contact there. So it's, I think, either 7-on-7 or 8-on-8, but they play almost full contact where you have downfield blocking on the line, which is really cool. And so we get a lot of
high school.
Yeah, in high school. No pads, no nothing. So it gets pretty gritty down there. And then Alaska actually also has a bit of a community. I don't know if it's sanctioned, but there's teams there and they play pretty regularly. And then now, have California sanctioned it, Arizona, Georgia. It's spreading. It's spreading. Yep. And so when I was first became a coach, I was looking in Florida and Vegas because that's where it was primarily. And then I'd go to tournaments and you find a lot of club teams in tournaments, right? Like it's not sanctioned in Texas, but their club teams in Texas are phenomenal, right? The talent is great. And so once you are, like I said, the flag football community is big, but it's very small at the same time. And so once you get involved in the tournaments and those communities, you find the pockets of where people come from, and you kind of start going in those directions.
Interesting.
It's, I feel like you're saying there's only 20 some schools, NAIA, that give scholarships, and there's a lot of women interest wise. I'm sure it's pretty hard to get a scholarship. I mean, you're saying you're looking at the effort, the grit, but I mean, it's got to be tough, the pool's out there.
I think, for sure. And it's getting tougher because I think now that it's going to be in the LA Olympics, the competition has really, you can see it, the difference between last year and this year. The level has stepped up. People who are more motivated, people want it, and they're really fighting for it. So the competition is only getting tougher right now.
Is adding that to different college rosters, like with Title IX and having everything even, is that one of the reasons why it's like kind of slow moving, adding into a lot of different universities? Or does that not really have a play in it?
No, I think it certainly helps. I know in terms of numbers of student athletes, Title IX certainly, is pushes for women's flag football. I don't really know. I think it just hasn't really, people haven't figured it out yet, right?
Yeah.
Like who knows, who's heard of flag football? You've heard of tackle, which is huge, and then you've heard of basketball. It's like we call them like major sports or main sports. But flag football is just still so new that people
it's like a kid thing you did as a kid. Like you like with the one guy. It's like, we played this when we were in junior high or whatever. But I hear you.
But I mean, for me, I love it, and I try to sell everyone on it because there's football, which is fun to watch, but then there's flag football, which is like the highlights of tackle, right? And so higher scoring, faster, more finesse. People, I mean, no offense, but in tackle football, there's no highlights on like the O-line. Not really anyways, very rarely. The highlights that you see are those long bombs, those long runs, the quarterback spin move and then running down the field. And that's basically all of flag football.
It's the skill positions, as they call them in the NFL. Do you know of any more schools in the NAIA that are adding women's flag in the near future? Have you heard anything about that?
Oh. Yeah. So, I mean, the number keeps like doubling every year. The first year flag football was introduced to colleges. I think in the KCAC, at least, there was 6 schools, and proudly Kansas Wesleyan was one of the first ones. And then the second year in the KCAC, there were 7 schools, and now it just kind of added. This year we had 9, and next year I think we should be up to around 11 or 12. So it's definitely increasing. And then I know in the Sun Conference, the numbers have really exploded as well because all those Georgia schools, or now that it's sanctioned in Georgia, the universities are starting to pick it up as well. And so it's kind of popping up in random places throughout the country, but it's spreading like wildfire.
It's incredible. And Lon does have a good point too. In Illinois, it's challenging enough to get officials to ref the games and coaches, right, to move this forward because it is so new. So how do you kind of guys deal with that too, with the growth of officials and just getting personnel, right?
Yeah, no, that has been an issue. I think number one is getting the officials. KCAC is established enough where we have officials come out, but then it's like now the consistency of officiating is there's some who have officiated for years, and then there's some who are new. And so interpreting those rules can be a bit different, especially if you've never played. Exactly. So I think consistency is the biggest one. I know that there's a lot of NFL franchises that are pushing for flag.
Yes.
And that certainly helps. I think one of the
Bears were a big one to get it established in Illinois.
Exactly. And for us, it's the Chiefs. They do a great job. We got to play at Arrowhead. So they're really promoting flag football. The thing that I've seen that I feel like is most effective is when high schools come together and they do coaches clinics. Because there's a lot of like coaches of other sports who are willing to coach flag football, but they just don't know the rules. They don't know anything about it. And so giving them that baseline of, hey, these are some drills, these are what we're looking for, and some coaching points to get them started has really motivated coaches to be like, you know what, okay, maybe I can try coaching flag football. And so I've done a few of those, especially in Maryland. There's a few more kind of popping up. I know the Eagles did one, the Raiders are doing one. And so the more that we can get coaches clinics, I think it starts from the top, and the kids already want it, right? The girls are already there. We just need the leaders to take that next step and take charge.
I love it. And we do have it in the Olympics coming up. Do you see it maybe after the Olympics, before the Olympics, branching into the NCAA as well?
Yeah,
Have you
certainly
heard rumors about that?
I have. I think there's actually one or two NCAA schools or like HBCUs who will introduce it in 2025.
Oh.
Who they play, I don't know yet. But I'd certainly, I'm fairly confident it will be an official NCAA sport probably in the next, I say, like 3 to 5 years. I can't see it slowing down. I can't see it stopping. There's just so many benefits. And the, like I said, the demand is there. The girls want to play. There's been tryouts for teams, and 80 plus girls show up, 100 plus girls show up to try out for a team of 12, 20 people, right? And so I think if you build it, they will come.
I love it. I love it. So I know we only have you for a few more minutes because you do have another call soon, even though questions. But we're, kind of our question for our final question, or topic, shall we say. So we just finished our 2024 season. What are you doing in the summer and the fall to prepare for 2025? And what can we expect in 2025 from KWU?
Good question. First, I'm resting. I think
need that.
Yeah, like maybe a week of sleep would be great. But after that, we're really gearing up. Like I said, I think we did a great job of gelling together, but really building on that chemistry, using the momentum that we had last season and moving forward into the next season. We're changing a few things up. I'm kind of experimenting with different my practice schedule a little bit. So we're going to do like more individualized skill sessions, more positional skill sessions, and then the team skill sessions will come later. But really building that chemistry between our quarterback and the receivers and just overall defensive chemistry. Like I said, we're not the biggest team. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. But I think what sets us apart is our team chemistry and our ability to play together. And so I've always strongly believed in that. And I think we have a great group of recruits coming in, a lot of talent coming back. And I'm excited to see us this year. There's a lot of room for growth, and I'm excited. I'm excited for it. So watch out.
I absolutely love it. What is your mascot? I don't even think I know what your mascot is.
So we are the Coyotes, but I guess the Kansas accent is we call it Coyotes. So if you hear, people have asked me, and I didn't know when I first got to Kansas. I said, "Oh, we're the Coyotes," and they're like, "Actually, we're the Coyotes."
Ma'am, it's the Coyotes.
So if you hear us saying Coyotes, that's why. It's a Kansas thing.
I love it.
Oh.
And final question too. Your team, has been quite good this past few years. We're talking about the 22-ish games per year. What has been your best regular season record? So we know how to get it a little bit better for next year.
This year was probably our best record to date. We finished the regular season, I believe, 12-2.
That's
yeah, not too shabby, right? So
right. And then you got to the championship game of both conference, and so we're going into the 2020 game situation. Awesome. So only losing 2 games. I mean, y'all good. Y'all have a lot to bring back. Well, I appreciate Melinda so much for coming on and talking about women's flag. We will absolutely be cheering for the Coyotes.
There you go.
Next year, and
definitely.
It's the future for you. With the growth of it, with USA flag, with it, potentially going into the NCAA. You've already established yourself as one of those leaders. So I would not be surprised if more and more opportunities come knocking on your door. And, I just hope that you pick the ones that are best for you, for what you need to do for your personal life and also your career life. Because sometimes it's hard to make those tough decisions.
Sure.
And, you talk about you've had imposter syndrome, but girl, no. You're her. So take that. You have all the women behind you. So when you're going through your career, just know that you have a whole band of women cheering for you. And we really wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And, I love what you do here as well,
Thank you.
Giving us a platform to be heard and to make a statement. And so, Sherry, Faye, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Bye, Melinda.
Bye, Melinda. Have a good night.
Bye. Have a good one.
Thanks. Oh, she's so well spoken. Yeah, she's very much. And I think between her, I'm not going to go out and play flag football or anything, but it just gets me excited having a lot of these women on here that just, gave such a good. I mean, obviously you are, you've been into it. You talk some about your experience with it, but just knowing that it's growing, there's other opportunities for women to get out there in sports. And, there's so many women who, grew up with dads and brothers or not, just getting into it later in school with their friends and wanting to do this. And I think that for her, from Linda to come out and just excel at 15 years old, getting onto a college. I mean, that's so cool. That says a lot about how great she is.
Mm-hmm. I view it kind of like your sport, right? In ninja, right? Where we didn't have that when we were kids. And it's just all these things that like young women, I mean, guys too, because the flag and ninja are both, for men too, we can give the guys a little bit of shout out, but for young women, just to see more and more places that they can excel athletically. Right. Yeah. So, maybe running track isn't your thing, right? Maybe you're really fast, but you find track boring as shit. But you can learn to.
You don't want to play soccer.
Right? You don't want to play soccer per se. Maybe you don't want to, play basketball. But it's just another way. Or maybe you're not the fastest, but you got hands, right? If you rate at that, and also too, it also gives women another option, right? Because it is going to be a fall sport for women in high school. So I was talking to my girlfriend Snacks. She's one of one of my best girlfriends, ran an Illinois track coach. I know her school is trying to get her to do flag, but it's like all those track girls playing flag. Yeah. Like I'm just thinking in high school, because I was a soccer player for women because the men play soccer in the fall. Women had to play soccer in the spring, so I couldn't only do track. Lon, and it is truly a great sport for all, because like she's at the shorties,
the equalizer. Like
the shorties. Okay, get down there and get that flag. It is great. And anytime that you can give people more opportunities, right? Yeah. Like there's no harm, right? We're only getting things better, more confidence for people, getting kids involved in sports. Why not giving more people things to watch, different sports to watch on TV? I obviously love football, but there is a part of you too, in the back of your mind. It's like, I'm supporting a sport that, CTE is a very big issue. And, am I supporting something that is too barbaric? Is it past its time? You got flag. Yeah. What is flag? The highlight reel.
Right. Well, that was such a good thing. And I have a girlfriend of mine whose sons play, like the younger son plays flag, and she'll have him in that for many, many years. And who knows, by the time he gets done in the next few years, because I think right now he's, I don't even know what grade he's in, maybe 4th or 5th. But she was saying the same thing. It's watching the flag football team play. And they're young, 5 or 6 or something. But even in that realm, which is where I'm used to watching it, there is an excitement there. It is faster.
Yep.
And like you said, you see all the good parts and you see what's going on rather than just worrying about getting it down and doing, all the, the tackling and all that other stuff. There's, she said something about finesse and the skill of it. And I was like, even though these are tiny little kids, there is. And I think it really will help. One of my friends told me, he said, keeping your, at that time, boys, like he has sons, keeping my boys in flag longer will make their skills better if they want to go into football later. And then they're not getting the injuries and the hurt.
There's no reason for young kids to be playing tackle because they don't know how to tackle. You know, you need to teach someone how to tackle correctly. And even that, we're still doing research on what is actually the appropriate way, you know, which types of hits. Is it just the repeated stuff on the line? Is it the big one, you know?
Yeah.
And I know it's like soccer too. Like CTE is not just a football thing, right? You know, we are looking at head injuries across the board for sports. But it is nice to give kids another option of a sport that, yes, you can get a head injury in flag football. Hi, it's me. I'm Sherry. I'm the problem. But it's, you know, statistically not as high, you know, as
injuries happen in all sports, regardless. I mean, unless you're just sitting in a chair watching, and you could fall off the chair, you still could get an injury. But
there's people injure themselves every day, Faye, doing the weirdest shit.
I'm one of those people. Yeah.
It's good though. You know, it's the options, it's the injury. I mean, like soccer, they're not letting kids head the ball until they're like 13-ish now or something like that.
Probably good. It's like learning the skills.
You need to know how to do it unless you're just hitting. And because I didn't like to head the ball, it's part of the reason why I stopped playing soccer. I was like, I'm just gonna switch to track. Like, I don't like this. This isn't. I don't want to use this. I don't want my face.
Yeah, that's why it's hit. Right?
You know, this is absolutely my face.
Like my face. This is why I don't do boxing. This is why I don't do wrestling. I like my cute little ears. Like I don't want to. No, I tried jujitsu once. My ear hit the mat, and I was like, "No, I'm out. I don't." And I kept saying, "I'm sorry," every time I'd like kick someone, and so I'm clearly not a jujitsu person.
I know. I've had so many people ask me, like, "Oh, why don't you go to jujitsu?" I'm like, I don't want to hurt someone. I don't want to be hurt, and I also, it's not that like I find feet weird, but something about everyone being barefoot on a mat.
Yeah. Or like having someone's sweat go in my mouth.
Someone's foot sweat. Getting
the smell here. Of like after work all day, they're like, no. And I've smelled an old ghee before. That, I mean, you wash it, but if it's been sitting,
it doesn't go away. Some things just permeate in there, and it's like and I know people have gotten staph infection too from it. I mean, you have all those people, feet, athlete's foot, all the. Sure, you can probably get hand, foot, and mouth disease if kids are out there before. I mean, so if you want to know how I feel about my feet in public, guys.
It's like we're talking about like football and all this stuff and like and like, you know, climbing trees and whatever, going in mud runs, and we're like, ew, jujitsu. Yes, I'm that girl for sure.
I don't know if you're wearing socks or something, I might feel better.
Like, you know, put some potpourri in the jujitsu room, you know, just make it smell nice. No, that's totally, and I get it. And good for women, because that sport has also, I have a few friends that actually love, well, maybe I'll have my one girlfriend because she has been, that's somebody else guest wise I'm going to reach out to, because she's a wrestler. She's a wrestling coach now, jujitsu champ. She's incredible. Like insane.
Girls wrestling. That's another one that's booming.
Yes. I need to reach out to her. I'm going to write that down, because that's another one that's getting so, I mean, and in high school, I know in high school I actually did want to be on the wrestling team for a long time, but then I ended up doing basketball and working. So the wrestling, and I think it was probably better because I already like dealt with eating disorders. So being on a wrestling team with all the stuff that
making weight. Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that, that probably was the best that I didn't make it, but yeah, I always thought that was just an interesting, until I saw the one day the guy's elbow, his bone came through because the guy hit his arm. That scared me into being like, yeah, I'm good. I like my arms and my elbows. And
I will say I do enjoy watching UFC more than boxing, because even though there are some very bad hits in UFC, they don't have the big gloves on, and you do see a lot more of the skill, especially when they start doing the groundwork and everything.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. And the rounds are 5 minutes. That's a really long time. If you're doing 5 rounds of 5, that's a sport, man. Not for me, because again, your feet are bare, and that's immediately I'm out. But
yeah. And the blood all over the thing that people just fought, and so you're like fighting on everyone's blood. So that's
no, I love to see women in
I love watching it.
Because there are, I mean, I barely
they're
like
badass for sure. I agree. I think it's great. So I'll remember that.
There are sports for every woman. The prissy ones, the badass ones, the tough as nails ones.
We have it all.
The ones that like to fly in the sky. All the ninja stuff.
I know, it's so good. I'm hoping to start getting the bug to get into it again. I have been out for a while, but I did a solid 5 years. So
and it's at least now you can compete in masters.
I know. I'm a whole new level, which would be great. Once I get that bug back, I have to be honest, it's other things are kind of catching my eye.
Sure,
but that's how I think I've always been. It's funny because, Dave, my ex-husband, and everyone, they always just you get into something, and then I'm then I do what I do well, and then I move on. So it's just and then I try to go back, and it's not, I'm okay, I'm in a different cycle right now.
Yeah.
But I still feel my body would do it. I've been doing, and I'll be honest with you, I was training for the DECA for a good 2-3 months, and I was into it, and I just realized my body was not, I was literally looking at my friend who was coaching me, and I said, I'm having a hard time. And I told him, I said, I took a month off, and I was I think my body just doesn't like this right now. And I want this to be fun. So I'm going to wait and then see, maybe later on this year, I'm going to be, ready. But, cause it's an exciting thing to do. And I want to enjoy. At this point, I just want to enjoy all the things that I do. So, but maybe, not jujitsu, but maybe I'll get into something else. We'll see.
I don't love DECA. I do it. It's just another thing to do.
Yeah, but
and I do love
running.
Yeah, I do love using some of the philosophies from it into my training, because it definitely has helped me a lot.
Oh, for sure.
But my biggest thing, and I think my biggest, not beef with it, but is I don't like to do anything for reps for a competition. I just want to say that's the finish line. Get there.
I can hear.
Whatever you have to do, because I can't get into a zone when I'm counting or I'm hearing someone count. So every single zone, you're just thinking about this, and then your form can go for shits, and this and that. And that's not good for training if you're trying to train to for time instead of form. I would much rather have a change of terrain and a change of this, and just get to the end, man. Just do it.
And I'm opposite. Give me a number, give me a time, give me miles and have me go. I'm no, put a grocery store at the end, so I can run to the grocery store and run back. I need that. And that's just really, but that's what's cool, right? It's everyone. It's different.
It's I run, naked in the sense that I don't have any type of fitness tracker. I don't know what my pace is. I,
that's
do
awesome.
everything.
It's your freedom.
Yeah, it is.
It's your freedom.
That's what I feel free when I'm running. I did run 4 miles today, which is the longest I've ran since my
with your
injury.
Foot.
Yeah, we're 43 days, I think, now post-injury.
Already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dang, that happened over a month ago?
Yeah, April 2nd. Who's counting? But can I tell you today was the first time I actually ran to the lake path. So I ran on pavement, and I'm running the track, running the treadmill, running the path. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm running to the I don't know. I don't know how to run. How is this? I'm trying to look in the mirror, window. I'm is my form off?
Right.
Right? Am I doing this correctly? But then once I got going on the way back, I'm feeling it. And I could have gone a couple more, man. So it was my first mile today, I want to say, was definitely me thinking, do I know how to run? Do I need to relearn how to run? Is my gait off? And I'm trying to but I will also notice too, when I was running today, I was doing not like I wasn't looking down at all. Like I was doing my regular, I wasn't overly thinking about, this or that. So every single time, I was getting a little bit better. Climbed with Rachel last night. Did a very technical 5, 10 plus rope climb because I'm not allowed to boulder yet. Yeah. And I did not, and it was like, it had pockets and I had to put my foot in pockets and I had to do these weird little turn stuff. And I wasn't thinking about my ankle.
I love it.
I was thinking about how the fuck am I going to get up this wall? But it's great. And I will say,
I love that.
Girl,
we've never done the top roping before. So we got to do that because I actually prefer top roping to bouldering.
So I really have gotten into top roping.
It's that freedom again. You just, and I love having the rope and
I love taking breaks.
And then just being so high up, like that's my meditation. When I'd go in the morning, I used to go at like 6 a.m., like, at least once a week for years. And that was my meditation, was getting, even I would just do the belay, the auto belay.
Oh, I hate those.
I don't either I really did. I started getting into the 511s for a long time and actually attempted one, like a 511C or whatever, those high ones. I mean, but that has to be done with an actual belayer.
Yeah, you need to like look back at it.
Yes, because those are, so my next, I'm going to take a class for the lead roping next because so I found but the classes are like Tuesday, Thursday nights, and you just take 2 of them, and I work those nights, and then I have this. They're just terrible timing. So, but that's my next step, and I'd like to get back into climbing in general. So, but nighttime for me is on a normal basis.
You're not in nighttime. We didn't start climbing until 7 o'clock last night.
Oh no,
you were in bed.
I was not. Actually, I was eating a great dinner last night till about 11 o'clock. I actually stayed out last night.
Look at you.
I know. I paid for it today, but great restaurant. So the bouldering and the climbing. So I think that's going to be another thing I'll get into, because once I start, I'm like, oh, I missed it.
It's great, and there's nothing like, it is a great feeling to like accomplish something really fucking hard. Cause I'm still kind of feeling that like high today too.
Yeah.
And this, I fucking looked at this route because Rachel was like, you should try that one. I'm like, bitch, I can't do it. Like, I was like, fine. You know what? Fine, Rachel. I'll try it to show you that I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm looking at like that middle part to like, 50 to 75% of the way down. I'm like, that looks like the hardest,
Yeah.
So, and I got through it. And then I realized the top was really hard.
That's where they get you. You're like, I got it. And then it's the last.
Like it was friendly holds. They weren't. I had to do a lot of weird maneuver. Like I had to go try multiple angles, and she was trying to suggest stuff, but she didn't.
Yeah.
And then the very last move was basically like a damn near a full body pull up onto a ledge that was like, I was like, route.
Yeah.
I was so close to top. I was like, I literally have 3 moves left. And they were each one, I needed multiple tries.
That's okay though. You get that when you have someone
Yeah, I was exhausted. And I was also fucking fatigued as shit. But Rachel was saying, because usually I'm a little bit more of a speed climber. And she like sometimes, she's done multiple 12s where she's taking multiple rests, it's taking her, and she's like, sometimes I feel bad, like, am I bothering Cherry, doing this? And she was like, no. She's like, I was excited for you the whole time. And I'm like, yeah, when you're doing it too, I'm very invested in getting you to the top.
And I'm a speeder too. I'm like, I want to go fast, whatever. Difference is between me and you two is I'm like a foot taller than you guys with my arms. I have, orangutan arms and legs that can so that is the difference. So I sometimes can be a little faster, but I don't have that finesse. Like I'm not like Spider. I had this friend Julio that would just be a spider.
Oh yeah.
Like watching him climb with his little butt, all cute, Yeah, it was adorable. But he was he was dancing with the wall. It was beautiful. And I'm just like, I just want to get up and then get down.
Yeah. So those big moves that I'm talking about for you, for me, fuck that. Yeah. For you, you'd be like, oh, just grab this. I'd be like, bitch. I know. When I tell like the guys that were bouldering, I'm like, can you beta it? But can you beta it like a short person?
Yeah. Probably not.
Also,
well, a lot of the guys aren't that tall. Well, I don't know. I haven't been out with
Jordan's just a couple inches taller than me, but he also moves like a literal monkey because he does climb the wall like a spider monkey. So I find his not always very helpful, but he is working more on some balance stuff and things that aren't his strength, which is nice to see. But yeah, it's funny. Sometimes he'll be like, your beta's useless. Next.
That's funny.
But anyways, so I need to eat dinner.
Yes.
I went for my run. It is so good to see you. I loved our guest tonight.
Yes, I did too. She was great. Thank you for getting on.
And on that note,
this has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.
Bye.